For plebs, by plebs, dropping the Bitcoin-only signal. Pleb Underground. Welcome everyone to the Pleb Underground.
Welcome back to Pleb Underground. This is episode 74. De vez en cuando quiero sentarse y escribir, but it's me, and about every 10 minutes a new block is here. Give a man a fish and he could feed his family, but with a poisson distribution he can seed humanity. BT a set of jesters, put you in a stupor. A new net of testers would be truly super. This is my domain, I range like a rover. I'm not J, but it's H that I'm over. Too many sheep, but they all want to trounce. They buy 28G rams, but can't lift an ounce. Moved on a lot from using a wallet that. This is Bitcoin, you ain't never seen some sass like that. BTC, give it to me, I'll give it to you. As long as you want, you know I got it. Give me one BTC and I'll give you two. It's not a front, you know I got it. Ticking along, I like the cute hummers. Liquidity supplied by me and newcomers. Aligned incentives with girls that are skinny. I tell them to back it up because I'm almost finny. Bitcoin inevitable, they can't stop corn. You sell your details to buy the popcorn. You tell Coinbase to shove it, pop 180 to Kraken. You had a sex change, so KYC you still stacking. Withdraw over Lightning, but your privacy still lacking, so use Mercury layer. That's what Nic's hacking. Private in public, passing coping times, dealing your bags, virtually open dimes.
Walton setting the mood. Very nice, very nice. And guys, joining us today, we've got very special guest. We've got the CEO of CommerceBlock and contributor to CivKit, Nic. Nic, thank you very much for joining us on Pleb Underground.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Sweet. All right. We are going to dive right in. We're going to move on over to the numbers.
Yeah, the numbers, of course, brought to us by Time Chain Stats and Time Chain Calendar. What are they like this week, Phil?
At the time of this recording, the block height is 829,711. What is that? The Bitcoin fiat exchange, 47,814. It was at 815 though. Anyways, total public lightning capacity, 4,954. Moscow time, 2,091. Fastest fee, oh boy, 25 sats per V-byte. Days to the halvening, 71. And guys, our chain rewrite days, 654. So,
I like the numbers this week, Phil. Like,
yeah.
it seems like we're getting richer and the shitcoiners are getting poorer, right? I believe the exchange rate is the highest it's been for a long time. Like today it hit something, right? It's the price is above the pump that was associated with the ETF bullshit like a month ago. And sats per V-byte now in the mid 20s. Like, people are doing their consolidations. Apparently Binance have got a whole shitload of blocks at like 20 sats per V-byte. So there's gonna be a lot of consolidation for a while. But I like the numbers this week.
Yeah, we're definitely recording on a good day. Definitely recording on a good day. But I did take a look at the wick from the ETF hype, and it did reach like 49K. So we're just shy of it, but
Scam wick. Like, fuck that bullshit.
It was a total scam wick, of course. It was the sell the news, right? It was the sell the news wick. Anyways, look, we got to take the wins when we have them. Nic, we always like to ask people, the guests on the show, some of the lighthearted questions. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings around the market right now?
I guess the biggest surprise was, I wouldn't say I was a true Bitcoin maxist, but I always felt all these shitcoins would eventually collapse and come to Bitcoin. I just didn't expect it to be this year. And, all the activity is weird. I'm not a fan of BRC20, but it's weird to see all these things that were on other chains pop up on Bitcoin. And I didn't see that coming. Just didn't. And that's quite baffling. But there are some positives out of it. I think a lot of the zero knowledge proof research, which was always reserved to Ethereum layer 2s, that's coming to Bitcoin. And I think that's a positive. There'll be dodgy stuff out of it. There'll be pump and dumps out of it. But I think long term, that's good.
So what do you make of this Citrea announcement this week? The ZK rollups inside BitVM.
I did listen to the guy. He did a Spaces with Vlad. He seemed to say the right things, but at the same time, there's no code. So I understand the skepticism. A lot of people think it was an announcement to raise money and there's no code, but he seemed to know what he was talking about in cryptography and things like that. But still, it's a lot of work to be done. It would be a long time to see that being a working product, or even if it's feasible. But
I'm not gonna lie, it has 2017 vibes. You know, the whole like, I'm gonna explain to you this amazing idea. You know, I don't really have anything yet, but I could. You know, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
just to get the feelers out there, right? See if there's any demand.
My understanding is it essentially means that you can have many different Ethereums on Bitcoin. It sounds like a whole load of stuff could, I guess, a whole bunch of degens basically, and people that use I've forgotten the name now, but the scripting language for Ethereum, that essentially a whole bunch of these people could essentially come over to Bitcoin and be building stuff. But it's it sounds like it could be kind of messy.
I think that's what they use,
Solidity. Yeah, thanks, Phil. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there are things out of zero knowledge. We looked at zero knowledge proofs years ago to improve the user experience of Mercury, so that if I sent a coin to someone, they didn't have to log in or register it. You could have a proof that automatically registers it. But we were of the opinion that they were too computationally expensive to work on a mobile phone or something. So that's why I think there's question marks if it's even feasible, if it's even.
I'm sure we'll talk more about scaling on chain versus scaling off chain in the Fireside chat.
I think this is a good
Phil,
thing.
do we have any other numbers to look at this week?
Yes, we do here. Let's take a look at some numbers. Okay, we've got this tweet from Wicked at W_S_Bitcoin. I don't know about you, but I like using money where the cost of beef keeps going down over time instead of going up. And I love these charts because people could sit there and scream and shout all they want about, no, you don't understand. Inflation's so complicated. You don't understand. Bitcoin's not really going up the way you think. You know what? When you zoom out and look at patterns, they become very undeniable. So let's take a look at this one quickly. In Bitcoin. It's beautiful. I love watching stuff like this. I find it so entertaining. And see, this is what's really interesting, right? Is that obviously the price of ground beef keeps going up in terms of USD, but it keeps going down in terms of Bitcoin. Oh gosh, this is absolutely brutal. Oh God. All right. Well, look, you guys get the point. You guys get the point. When does so look? Ultimately, not everything becomes free, right? Like that's just impossible, isn't it? Like it can't actually go to zero. Nobody's just gonna give you stuff for free.
Yeah, it's not going to zero, right? Like, yeah, I agree, Phil.
No, but it's just so it's like I don't know what else to say. Like it's like okay, so it keeps going down, but like at some point it just has to stop.
Or it becomes a penny stock, I guess. Penny stocks never die. They stay relevant. They pump. They dump.
The beef penny stock.
Yeah. Penny stocks are still there. I have no idea why, but people like them. People like to gamble. You can't end that.
No, it's true. But look, I mean, this is a great case for hodling, right? I mean, look, it's a no-brainer. We can see here when you zoom out, you plot it on a long enough timeline, it makes absolutely no sense, right? It makes no sense, and no pun intended, to be hanging on to US dollars when you've got something like Bitcoin. That clearly shows you how the things that are actually important to you that are required, right, for survival, you know, food and shelter and all these things, they just become increasingly cheaper. So, yeah, bullish stuff.
Yeah, one other thing that keeps going down seemingly is the fiat price of Monero,
should have been in REKT,
which lost like a third of its value right this week, give or take, after it got delisted by Binance. And I saw, I don't know, some mixed takes on this, but yeah, Nick, what do you think about this?
I mean, I'm not one of the people that think Monero is a shit coin. I'm a fan of Monero. Just say that. I think it's cool tech. It's interesting. May never scale. May never really work. But they're great guys, I think, and the stuff they're building is interesting. I think it's good for them that they're off Binance. It means there's less manipulation, less fake volumes. I think that's healthier. Probably if people were hodling it, expecting it to outperform Bitcoin, it probably hurts right now, but it's probably better for them, I think.
Yeah, it's, like to your point, it's difficult to make a case for Monero as a store of value because the base layer of it is obfuscated. So you just have to trust that there's 99 million Monero and just kind of hope that that's accurate at all times. So that's kind of the tough case for it. But I do, I do have to say, yeah, I find the tech interesting. It is interesting tech, So, I mean, look, the reality is that when you look at all the shitcoins, right? You look at all of them. There's different quality of shitcoins. Like there's still shitcoins, but Monero is kind of more at the top of that pile than at the
look,
bottom. It's
they've done experiments that may never work. Things like RandomX, trying to destroy the ASIC industry. Could work, could not work. It's and I think they're open about it. It's an experimental coin. They're not going around and saying put all your money in Monero. They don't have a Michael Saylor saying sell your house by Monero. So I think that's cool. They're cool.
He's not good either, though. Michael Saylor, I don't. Even from the beginning, right? It's like, sure, at the beginning you're kind of excited that this guy's cheering for Bitcoin, but then after a while, it's like, why is this guy here, right? Considering nobody really ever heard of his, his business MicroStrategy before, which I know it's existed for many years, but I'd never heard of it as being anything in the tech sector, really, And then all of a sudden, this guy comes along and just starts hodling all these bags. Either way,
there's many people who got relevant just through being into Bitcoin that would be irrelevant. I mean, maybe we're us three. Yeah, who knows?
No, we're still no. I mean, I can speak for us, not you necessarily, but for me, I can say, yep, nope, still irrelevant.
Still irrelevant. Just allowed us talking about corn. To do a podcast on a Friday afternoon. That's cool. I wouldn't have met you otherwise. Well, look at it.
Oh God! All right, Walton, do we have anything else for the numbers, or does that wrap it up?
I think that'll do for the numbers this week. Yeah.
All right, sweet. All right, guys, we are gonna move it on over to the Fireside Chat. The Fireside Chat is brought to you by BTC Pins. Check them out at btcpins.com. Use the code PlebUnderground for 5% off awesome pins. Check out my collection. I think one of them just fell. Yep, one of them just kind of fell. Anyways, amazing pins from btcpins.com. Use the code PlebUnderground. Welcome back, everyone. Here we are, Fireside Chat. We've got Nic, CEO of CommerceBlock, and I don't really know much about CommerceBlock. I know that you've spoken with Walton and have more of a rapport with him, but I just want you to kick it off by explaining, like, what is CommerceBlock? What do you guys do? How does this work?
Yeah, so we're a Bitcoin infrastructure company. I guess not as well known as other ones, but we have built some products over the years. Originally, we were building side chains, but more for institutions, but based on Bitcoin. And then a few years ago, we pivoted and built Mercury Wallet, which was a layer 2 based on state chains, but it was more focused on privacy. And we had some uses. I mean, it never got anywhere close to, say, like a Wasabi or a Samurai. And about a year ago, the technology changed, and we new research in like the technology, we were able to make it fully blinded, which I can go into details, but essentially we decided to make it more of a layer 2. So now we rebranded it, called it Mercury Layer. Don't necessarily do any of the kind of coin joining and swapping stuff. And there's reasons, I live in the UK, maybe my local government wouldn't like that much. You can read into that. But we thought as well to just try and make it as a generic layer 2. And that was a lot because we did a lot of research on making it fully blinded. So essentially what it is a way of sending private keys around. But our server doesn't know anything. It doesn't know the Bitcoin address. It's just blindly signing something. So the best way to describe it, it's virtual open dimes. It literally is. And I've spoken to NVK a few times. He's happy for us to use his. He hasn't hit us with trademarks to call it virtual open dimes. He's quite happy, but that's what it is. It's a way of sending private keys around off chain. So with all the high fees at the moment, we're getting a lot more interest. We're not in production, but we've been on testnet for about a month, and we've got a lot of people, projects, commercial, non-commercial, that are contacting us. People are asking us to put ordinals on it, and we just say it's fully blinded. We don't know what people use. We charge a fee for them, and that's it. And then you're off. You don't have to talk to us anymore.
Wow, very interesting. So
Yeah.
I guess how does that? I guess like how does that experience look to a retail user, right? Like I
The
don't know if you
biggest
can.
problem, yeah, I mean, the biggest, it's like a virtual open time. So the biggest problem is fixed amounts.
Yeah.
You know, whatever's on that private key is the only thing you can send. So if it's 0.125, you can only send that. It's not like Lightning where you can
But
specify the digits. That's the challenge. Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is that like is there an app that I install on my phone, or is there like that?
We're
Because,
only yeah. So Mercury
yeah.
Wallet did. We are going to release an app, but we're not going to support it. I mean, there's a few reasons for that. We want other people to build on top, and we've got a few commitments of people that said they're going to adapt their wallet to support it. The Nostra guys are a big fan. You know, Fiat Jaff is always in our Telegram. He wants to integrate it into various Nostra projects. So and we want to push that. So we are going to release a wallet, but it's only to kind of show people how to do it. So because I think Mercury Wallet, the original, was quite hard to integrate with. There was a lot going on. You know, we were doing coin swaps. This, we really just trying to make it as easy as possible. So any wallet developer, Nostrum, service maker, I mean, the Fedi guys or guys related to Fedi were talking to us the other day about how to integrate it. So we're just like a blinded server. You know, everyone integrates. But I think so it's a true layer 2 in that sense.
So that helps when you get hacked. Is that right, Nick?
Oh, we did get hacked this week. I don't know if you saw that. Our test environment got hacked, and it was quite funny. They, I mean, we had a test environment with a very sloppy firewall and probably a password that was no better than password 123. And we've had people test it, and then we wake up one morning and the tables are locked, and we have a message from someone: if you want to unlock your data, please send some Bitcoin to this address. Can't remember what it was, but I did actually tweet it, so it was quite open. And it kind of justified why we made the thing fully blinded. There is no value in hacking our database. All you see is a hash, which represents the state coin, which is meaningless, a timestamp of when it was created, and then a number that shows all the times it was transferred. Yeah, meaningless data. And we're going to put that on a block explorer anyway. So, but he wanted to ransomware us for us to there's no value, and that's why you want to make things fully blinded.
So my understanding of Mercury Layer is that it's a bit like it's a privacy solution, but it's also a scaling solution. Can you talk a little bit about how it enables scaling? Because my understanding is it's a bit like you lock.
Yeah, so
you lock some Bitcoin on chain, and then you pass the key in a secure way.
Yeah, it's a scaling solution like an open dime. I mean, me and you could sit at that meetup we go to, and we could swap the open dime 20 times. There's no on-chain transaction. So I mean, it's not exactly like an open dime in that you can't do it limitless. It's locked for 1 year, and then every transfer you lose 8 hours, and that's part of the security protocol to make sure previous owners can't steal your funds. That's where it gets complicated. But yeah, you can transfer it. I don't know how many times you can do it, but technically you have a 1 year lock period, but you lose 8 hours every transfer.
So it's surely 365 times 3.
Okay, you're the better mathematician than me.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, something like that. If you were to transfer every 8 hours, yeah.
So
yeah, and things like CTV and you probably hear about, I think they would make that transfer unlimited. So we are supporting the CTV guys as much as possible.
So I guess the inevitable question is, when can we expect to start seeing this functionality?
Oh, we're weeks away. I mean, honestly, we're weeks away from going into production. I mean, we're not doing any code at the moment. We're just knocking up a very basic UI, and then the server side infrastructure is complicated. It's just we have to go through the process of making that secure and all that. But we're weeks. There's no code changes.
It's very interesting. I was just looking through the Mercury site as well. I'm very curious, so I will be watching.
I had a lot of complaints about that site. They said it's too cryptic and too nerdy and too black.
Well, yeah, but that's but that's what you expect. Like, I mean, when I just looked at it right now, no, I mean, look, it's not too cryptic and nerdy. Let's pull it up here.
There are typos. We've had a lot of complaints, but at least if
come on,
people
guys,
spot the typos, we know they've been reading it. So
come on, this is cool. Okay, This graphic is cool. I like the color scheme that you guys used. Yeah, you know what? This looks to me, you know what? Okay, fine. It looks to me like you guys know what you're doing. Okay. I don't understand anything here. Okay. And that's totally fine. Not expecting to. But to me, looks like you guys know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'd
I hope
rather
so.
see that. I'd rather see that than a blank page with a really terrible cartoon that shows how you're going to fix the world with your solution.
Yeah, and yeah, so
So-
it's an yeah, and it's an alternative to Lightning, but you know, we still do Lightning development. We hope to integrate this into Lightning, but that's very complicated. But yeah, we do run Lightning servers. We're going to probably be pushing that a bit more, but that's our long-term goal this year, to integrate state chains into Lightning. But that's quite tricky.
So how would that work?
Well, you could swap your state coin off. Well, the way I want to do it is be able to move Lightning channels as state chains. But the request we always get is an easy way to swap state chains into Lightning channels. But I think,
But as in, like, so you could like swap Lightning channels essentially, but like so
Yeah.
you could pass on the ownership of the Lightning channel.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, but there's a lot of weird things that can happen because you know how, I guess you guys know how Lightning is. You've got all these backup states. How do you move that across? And what happens if someone broadcasts? So, but yeah, but a lot of people, I mean, what the great thing about this environment, a lot of people have reached out with their ideas on how to fix those since we went public. So that's been good. So we get a lot of free consulting. Yeah.
Very nice. All right, we're gonna switch gears a little bit, but still keeping on Mercury. So let me ask you this: you're also a contributor to CivKit, and we've had Ray on the show. And so let me ask you this: is there any kind of crossover between Mercury and CivKit, or you can talk about?
There's other stuff that CommerceBlock does that will be using CivKit. So we run an attestation proof of publication service called Mainstay, which is a bit like open timestamps, but it builds on the previous commitment. And we use that in Mercury as well to prove, it's kind of like a way of proving that there's no misbehavior from us, the server. In terms of Mercury Layer and CivKit, we're not anti it. I mean, there's been a few ideas to kind of do like, you know, the Azteco gift cards.
Yeah, absolutely. I've used them.
So a few people have come up to us as, could we build Azteco gift cards on Mercury? You know, because you can imagine they're just things you give around, and then you, and that's led to conversations about, you know, integrating that into CivKit. But again, we wouldn't be the ones doing it. I mean, we're a blinded server. We clearly don't want to be doing anything like that. But if other people build on top, you know, we don't. It's not like we can stop it or push it. We just don't know. It's a blinded server. But yeah, at the moment, CivKit is really about getting a version 1 that's still in the weeds of Lightning, getting an order book and stuff. So that's a part-time thing I do.
So for the listeners and the viewers, sorry, that didn't see the episode with Ray, I'm gonna put a link over here. But are you able to kind of give like a high-level overview of what the CivKit is?
Sure, it's really just a decentralized way of doing what Ray used to do at Paxful, which now he does at no one. But it's a decentralized marketplace using Nostra and Lightning. We're not the first. There's other people that are building it. I think Monstro came out live a few weeks ago. Then you got LM Bits guys. They've got like a LM Markets, I think, or something like that. Ours is just our own flavor. We focused a lot on the reputation system because of the involvement with Ray. We've taken a lot of his knowledge in peer-to-peer and trying to build it around the problems he's seen. And it's open source. There's no company. It's being run like BTC Pay server. So, and we have funding from various. I mean, the most fundings come from Ray's company. No one's. And
very cool. And what exactly is it that you've been working on specifically with CivKit? If you could share that.
Yeah, so I worked on the initial architecture with a guy called Antoine Riard on the original white paper. He's gone because now it's more about people doing day-to-day development. So last few months is really I'm more of a project manager / architect, just helping like new guys come on and get them up to speed and just coordinate, make sure they get paid. Nothing glorious, but help us to get a V1 out and then try and push it. But we've got some new guys on it that they're great. They're anons in that they're from places in the world where they don't necessarily want their pub to be public, But if you go on our GitHub, you can see we've got new guys contributing, and they're working hard. They're loving it. And these guys that are contributing, one of them's from the Global South. It's not like he's doing this for fun. This is actually solving a problem that he has every day. Being able to trade and stuff, operate. So and that's been really insightful. And there's a big community around CivKit. We do weekly spaces. It's people from
How's that
where.
going?
Yeah, I mean, you learn a lot. Like, okay, so I've known Ray for 10 years, or maybe longer, and he's always told me about some of the stuff that he does, and I always thought it was like just guys in New York swapping gift cards for $50, $100. When you realize the kind of trades that go on Telegram, WhatsApp, and WeChat in Nigeria, we're not talking $10 here. We're not talking 1,000. We're talking like $1 million.
Whoa.
It's insane how big this stuff. Yeah. So
wait,
you get
per trade.
What?
Not per trade. You mean
sometimes? Yeah. You're getting these OTC traders in Nigeria and they come onto our Twitter spaces and they tell us story about the kind of stuff that happens, because the payment rails there are so inefficient that people come to these WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups with large numbers of Naira and large numbers of gift cards, large numbers of dollars, and they're trying to basically get into Africa and out. And that's interesting, because
that is interesting.
I mean, I had to say it. There's a lot of people who want to do Bitcoin in Africa, but I don't think they actually know what goes on. And I'm not going to claim to know what goes on, but I think the great thing about Ray, he's been on the ground. He goes there. He considers himself he's African. He was born in Egypt. Yeah, and he works with the people who are actually there day to day. And it's just interesting. We realize we don't really know what's going on. I realized I didn't know what was going on there and didn't really understand their problems and all their challenges.
Well, Africa's
and
a really
how it works.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
and I mean it's really interesting, right? Like Egypt is like northern Africa, which is totally different than central. So it's I don't know. We each region there has its own unique issues, and that's crazy.
And I always thought everyone there just used M-Pesa, and I didn't realize the people telling me that M-Pesa is tied to the mobile phone, the telephony networks. So instead of a bank shutting you down, essentially it's money controlled by the telcos. So instead of a bank shutting you down like we have here, you get a telco that shuts you down. So it's just a different set of arseholes. So
it's like transferring your phone credit between different people is essentially what it's like. Yeah. Question: If you're a fan of Monero, even saying the names of shitcoins grosses me out a little bit. But if you're a fan of Monero, why have you? Which some people call a private layer 2 for Bitcoin. Why have you developed your own one?
You can be a fan of something and not necessarily see any long-term potential. I mean, Monero doesn't really. I mean, I know they talk about it, and I've spoken to the Ceph for Privacy guy, which probably a guy you argue with.
He blocked me a long time ago, and now he works.
I just had this feeling you two would.
Now he works for a company that sell like Nokia-looking things, right?
I mean, but there's no real path to how Monero is going to scale. I mean, Bitcoin has its limitations, but at least there's guys like the Lightning guys, the Arc guys. I like to think us that are trying to scale it, and there's a path. Even if it scales badly with things like custodial solutions like Fedimint or eCash, there's a path there. Monero is, I don't even know if there is a path. I mean, I just don't see it in that sense. It's fun, it's cool. I like what they do. I mean, I've played with Monero, I've mined Monero. I like the tech. There's a lot to be learned, but I'm not necessarily convinced it's going to grow and be something meaningful.
That's funny. I mined Monero.
And the good thing is the Monero guys don't say that either. If you speak to the real Monero people, the guys building, they're not trying to convince you to buy Monero.
No,
I mean, they're
not.
No, like everyone I know in the Bitcoin space that has used Monero looks at it as like it's a you pop into it, you use it, and you get or you don't hold Monero is what any Bitcoiner will say.
And could it
that
handle,
have used it?
Could it handle the volumes of like Lightning and stuff? Probably not.
One concern I have, which is probably the reason I've never used Monero, is that surely the swaps to and from Monero are potential honey traps. I know Samurai supposedly. Sorry, I was just saying. Samurai have supposedly created a way of where you can do the swaps in a non-custodial way in Samurai. but I don't understand enough of the technicalities to know if that's actually true. Yeah, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, when I was like more doing privacy with my Mercury wallet, we did look at a lot of these swapping protocols, and even if you thought the privacy was good, the spreads were pretty bad. I mean, you're losing 5 to 10% of your Bitcoin if you're lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, for a swap market to exist, there needs to be players on both sides, and they take a cut. So that would be my biggest issue with the swapping.
So you might as well just swap for in person for fiat cash.
Or just do a coin.
Not
It
pay
depends
the
what your
spread.
goal is. If it's privacy, you're better off just doing a coin join. That's going to be cheaper. If you want to be cheap, go on join market. If you want to pay a bit more money, go on Wasabi or Samurai. I mean, that'd be my experience.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm thinking about it now. I feel like it's just a bunch of people that are just swapping their Bitcoin for Monero on an exchange, and like that's not really private. It's like
I think the Samurai guys do it as an atomic swap. So
yeah, they'll do it
Yeah,
as
my
an
understanding
atomic
is a
swap. But I'm
peer-to-peer
talking about
atomic
the
swap,
average
but-
person that doesn't like, that just wants, heard about Monero, because you'll have that, right? The noobs that are like, oh, this privacy thing, so they go on an exchange and they buy Monero with their BTC. I don't know.
Right, and then
funny.
buy drugs on the internet with
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then buy drugs on the internet. I'm using my privacy token from Coinbase. I'm sorry. That's just funny. Oh God. Okay, so
Okay,
Nic.
so CivKit's not going to be
Yeah.
supporting Monero. If that was your question, no, it's not even talked about.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. So look, Walton, do you have any more questions for Nic right now?
Yeah. When do you think realistically, people are going to be able to use Mercury Layer? I guess it's not really dependent on you if you guys aren't building the apps, but like later this year, sometime is a feasible time frame.
I'm hoping end of March, worst case.
Oh wow. Okay, and you're saying by the end of March, like somebody out there that's already developing like front end wallet software is going to have an integration with it?
Well, we're going to have a wallet which we're not going to support. But
Yeah,
when I say not support,
what do you mean not going to support? How do you
explain that?
What's your definition of this? Because I'm confused by your language.
It'll be open source. It won't be released with any license. You can download it from GitHub and run it. You can run. I will provide the ATK, so you can run it on an Android phone or you can run it on a desktop. But we're not going to be, it's not going to be associated with the company. It'll be just like something we do for free, and that's for two reasons: so people can see it, people can play it, people can copy the code. And
so does that mean there'll never be any updates to it, or it's one of those things where it's like you guys do it, but it just doesn't have kind of like a roadmap? Or sorry, I'm just trying to understand. Because I've seen stuff like this where people don't actively support something, but they actively build, right? So that's what I'm just trying to figure out what the nuance is.
We haven't thought about it that hard, if I'm honest.
It sounds like this is a bit of legalese here. So it's the company that are producing the technology.
It's not legal as well.
No?
It's also, we want to be a layer 2, so we want to encourage people to build on it.
Yeah, you don't want to be a wallet. You want to be like the backbone of it, right? But you still want to provide people like a framework so they could build on it. Is that it?
Yeah. Also, I think, if I'm honest, I think having a state chain only wallet I don't see that doing much in the world. And we experienced that when we had Mercury wallet. People started saying, well, it's very complicated to go from your Bitcoin wallet to your state chain wallet and then to a Lightning wallet. And we're not wallet developers. I think it'd be better off someone who's got an existing wallet to put it in. And you've seen that with other projects like Liquid, which I'm a fan of from Blockstream. I don't know what you guys, but they struggled, and they've tried to make it easier for other people to integrate into Liquid as well. But if you had just a Liquid only wallet, you invariably are going to have a Bitcoin wallet integrated, and that becomes clunky. And then you have to have a big wallet engineering team. Bitcoin wallets aren't easy to build. We had a lot of challenges with Mercury Wallet, and I'd say 90% of our challenges was because we were privacy. We had to integrate Tor, which is I'm not knocking Tor. Tor does amazing stuff, but from a wallet developer's point of view, it's a nightmare. And you put that on a mobile, it's 10x worse. And I think we live in a world where we need more mobile wallets as well. The usage of like non-mobile is getting smaller and smaller. So,
I mean,
does that
I can
answer?
honestly
Yeah.
say that I have like 2 desktop apps, right? Or
Mhm.
3. Sorry. Okay. I've got 3 desktop apps and I rarely use those 3. Whereas my mobile, it's like that's not necessarily a daily, but it's, let's say, bi-daily, you know?
And if we're
So
gonna scale to
yeah,
normies, like it really needs to be mobile. Like I've
yeah, it
been a
does.
huge fan of a few developers in that space, like Nunchuck. I never stop talking about.
Yep.
Because yeah,
Smooth
being able to do
integration.
mobile first multi-sig where you never even touch a desktop, I think it's huge for security for people who aren't super technical. And yeah, you can connect up to your node as well so that you have additional privacy. I don't know. There's I think more and more developments in the mobile space are really going to scale the social capital of people in Bitcoin, right? Like it's going to be the numbers of people in Bitcoin will scale much more, and then need the scaling solutions technologically. But we need more people for Bitcoin to succeed and for number to go up long term, right?
And I think ideologically, I mean, I'm obviously a fan of Mercury Layer, but I don't see it. I'm not sure if it's that much of a retail app. I mean, it's plumbing. I think that's going to enable other solutions.
That's why I wanted to understand more about what the retail user experience was going to be like. And as soon as you explained it, I understood. I'm like, okay, these guys are back.
I mean, I'm not convinced Lightning
and that makes sense.
Retail. Yeah, and
no, I agree.
Not trying to veer off topic. I'm not 100% sure Lightning as it is a retail app. I mean, are retail really going to manage inbound liquidity and stuff like that? I mean,
dude,
most Lightning guys I know use. When I say Lightning guys, Lightning users use Wallet Satoshi. That's a custodial, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, so long as you're aware of the risks.
So to your point, right? The hobbyists are, they're gonna play with stuff. They're gonna tinker. They're gonna deal with all of the crap. Okay, like having done support for over 20 years, I can honestly say that the average retail user does not give a shit to do more maintenance in somebody else's in another app, right? Like it's like you don't want to, like when you turn on your phone, you want to use your phone. You don't want to sit there be a janitor for your phone apps, right? Like we already have too much to do with it. And the reason, the point I'm trying to make is that when it comes to managing Lightning channels, I know like people who spend a lot of time using Lightning all the time are going to sit there and be like, no, what are you talking about? It's so easy. I just do this, that. No, you're missing the point.
Yeah,
like,
Phil.
What? What's up?
Yeah, Phil.
Yeah, Phil. No, but
I'm agreeing because I don't think it's that hard to run a Lightning node. I really don't. But
I don't think so either.
It's not a zero time investment. It's not something you can do once and like then just use it. But I don't know. It's really not that hard. And like when I don't know when fees go up a bunch, like being able to withdraw from exchanges. I mean, if you use exchanges over Lightning to your own node, is kind of nice.
I want to preface this, okay? At one point, somebody was able to sue McDonald's because the coffee was too hot. Okay, like that.
Dude, the first like Winnebago, these like RVs, right? They didn't have some guy successfully won a lawsuit because he was driving on I think when cruise control got invented, right? He put cruise control on his Winnebago on the highway, and then got up and went back and made a cup of coffee, and of course it doesn't do the steering for you as well. The guy successfully won the lawsuit.
This is what we're dealing with.
People are retarded. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. This is what we're dealing with. And this is who's eventually going to use the apps. So the people that honestly sit there, right, that are like, yeah, they're going to loop in and loop out their transactions, do all this. No, they're not. No, they're not. Because they're to Walton's point, they're driving Winnebagos while making fucking coffee in the back. Okay. So they're not figuring any of that out. So yeah, it's I don't disagree with you, Nick. I think that was I know it's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. I do think it's going to get a lot better. I don't think that Lightning is dead and doesn't work, but yeah, we've got a long way to go. And assuming people are going to figure it out, no, they won't. So
but I think Lightning
they're going to figure it out when it gets easier.
Yeah, I think Lightning's brilliant technology. The ability to settle with anyone, anywhere in the world with no counterparty risk in 1 millisecond is nuts.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, but somewhere in the last few years, someone associated it with being Visa. It's not. It's not a retail app. And
Thank you.
That's yeah.
It's a very good point. All right, so Nic, before we wrap up the segment, how do the viewers find you? How do they get in touch with you? How do they learn more about CommerceBlock, about Mercury Layer? Let everybody know how
Yeah,
they
I
find
mean,
you.
commerceblock.com, and you can find links. I'm on Twitter arguing with Walton sometimes. Gregory _ Nico. I mean, we're quite easy to find. We have a Telegram group for Mercury Layer where people are coming in and bouncing ideas. We're quite open. And CivKit's got its own community. I do weekly Twitter spaces with Ray. You know, there's always a risk you get cancelled with Ray, so I have to manage that. But it's fun. It's different perspective. Look, a lot of the reason I got involved with CivKit because at the time Ray had been talking about CivKit for years. He kept on saying we need to build a decentralized, and I was concerned about the lack of circular economy in Bitcoin. The whole this is digital gold. This is just a pet rock you hold in cold storage and pray to the gods it goes to $1 million. That worried me. And yeah, when I got into Bitcoin, it was all about using it. I used to use Purse.io quite a lot with the Amazon gift cards, and not that I ever did it, but I know people that bought dodgy stuff online, and that market's kind of gone, and that's concerning. And CivKit, maybe it's not for the West, but I think definitely in other parts of the world it could be used, and it could create a circular economy, which I think we need. If we lose a circular economy, then I'm concerned. Yeah.
And it links liquidity between like it links markets, right? Like Ray talks often about how there's lots of liquidity trapped in different markets that can't talk to each other, like in Africa especially. And yeah, these sorts of things that free trade, yeah, it's got to be a good thing.
And again, we're not the only one building it. There's quite a few other guys building it, and if one of them works, that's brilliant. It's good for all Bitcoiners.
Absolutely it is. And I do agree with you about the circular economy. I always talk about that as well. We're going to put all the links in the show notes. Guys, that wraps up the Fireside Chat, and we are going to move it on over to REKT. REKT is brought to you by CypherSafe. Check them out at CypherSafe.io. Everybody needs to store their seed, and it needs to be secure. Check out the Cypher Grid, an absolutely awesome seed plate, and it comes with this amazing little punch tool. It's at CypherSafe.io. Check out the Bitcoin Relo Triangle from CypherSafe. 16 ounces of solid titanium, a beautiful piece from Bitcoiners to Bitcoiners, and that is from CypherSafe.io, the Bitcoin Relo Triangle. All right, guys, for REKT, look, if you're following along, or maybe if you're not following along with the CSW trial going on, COPA versus CSW, I definitely suggest that you follow the Norbert account. I'll put that in the show notes. Sorry, in the links. Anyways, but this is just absolute magic, because if you have been following along, you know that there's been multiple cell phones already. But to Artie's point, this is pure gold. Kurt Wuckert explaining in a CoinGeek episode how Craig Wright's long con typically works in every fine detail. Take special note of the first sentence, and yeah, let's get into it.
This isn't to say I have no idea if a single thing Craig said is true, but the way that he explained away every single anomaly, for lack of a better term, was just frankly really, really well done. And not just the rhetoric of Craig's body language. Like, he was very, he's just kind of sitting back and he's relaxed, and well, yeah, that's just not how that works. And, it's just very, very chill. He's kind of reclining in his chair. His posture is very open. He also had on quite a nice suit. It was like a light blue pinstripe, a purple tie.
All right, guys. So look, I mean, I'm sold. I don't know about you, Walton. This whole time I was all about Bitcoin, but now that I heard about how well Craig is speaking and how nice his suit is, I mean, how could he not be Satoshi?
Wait, is this BSV or TMZ? Like,
it's REKT. Oh gosh. So yeah, anyways, I just thought that was absolutely hilarious. Nick, I don't know what have you followed anything with BSV? Are you interested? Do you have any
I mean,
comments on this whole saga?
yeah, it's a bit. I mean, I'm quite anti-lawyers, and I think when you get two sides fighting like this, the real winner is the legal companies. I mean, and I'm a bit upset no one's actually. I mean, whatever you think about Craig, his law company his legal firm should never have taken him on in the first place. And yeah, the law firms on both sides are going to make millions of pounds on what is nothing more than a soap opera, and that's the real issue I have. But
Well said.
it's a complicated.
Lawyers suck. And the best thing about Bitcoin is that the lawyers got removed from money, right? People say that what do they say? Possession is 9/10 of the law. Well, in Bitcoin, it's 10/10. Not your keys, not your coins. And yeah, it's kind of fantastic. Whereas the BSV lot think that the law somehow should be involved in ownership of Bitcoin, which is complete nonsense. Yeah.
Speaking of nonsense.
But it is about incentives. Like I talked to some girl who works in HR this week, and she was saying, like, people come to her and ask, like, hey, can we fire this person? She's like, well, what's your reasoning for it? And they're like, oh, it's this. And she's like, well, okay, then you got to, like, if there is a law case, you got to then stand up and say it. They're like, what? So what's the legal implication? She's like, well, I can't give you like a one way or another. And then I realized, well, the reason why HR people can't say definitively whether this is legit or not, it's because it's about the incentives of the law system. They don't the point is these things are meant to go to court because then the lawyers get paid, right? It's not that these things shouldn't be clean cut. There shouldn't be clear legal guidelines on it. On a lot of this stuff, because that doesn't incentivize the lawyers getting paid, and yeah, in the UK, the lawyers get paid is what happens.
Yep, that's absolutely right. Absolutely right. All right, moving on from CSW. I don't know if you guys remember the Franklin Templeton, right? A whole bunch of Bitcoiners were all like, "Yay, Franklin Templeton!" And then all of a sudden, they started spouting the Web3 stuff. So this is how it started. And here's how it's going. So there you go. They are on to the next thing. Yeah, this is I mean, like, look, this is why you can't, not that anybody has to be told this about a financial institution, but of all the businesses, like, financial institutions are not your heroes. Okay, they are not anybody's heroes. Anyways, Franklin Templeton REKT. Moving on. Walton,
just quickly on the Franklin Templeton thing. Like, initially when I saw this, I thought it kind of looks a bit woke because you just see like a rainbow, and then I thought, wait a second, it's kind of like Rasta colors. It's kind of like Jamaica. Like, what is the? Yeah, is there any logic behind it? I don't know.
It's the next thing. They're just doing the next thing. You know, like, that's it. They got the Bitcoiners. They put the laser eyes on, and then they started spouting all the Web3 crap. So they lost us within less than 24. Actually, I think in that same tweet thread, they lost us all. Anyways, moving on because we got to get to the main story. But I don't know if things can. I don't know what's going on with Swan, but it's like they just can't seem to, buy their way out of this or whatever it is. But here we go. Predator. I'm pretty sure Swan is cursed. And why is he saying that? So here, he's just citing I guess this is on their website, Swan Security. We currently work with Fortress Trust and Bakkt as custodians of record, and BitGo as cold storage custodian. And what is he doing? He is retweeting a tweet just in Bakkt, the crypto platform introduced by the New York Stock Exchange owner, and Starbucks in 2018 warned it might not be able to stay in business. So yeah, and Corey responded here. It's mandatory disclosure in the 10Q filing. It's true that Bakkt will need to sell some equity in the next 12 months. It's also true that there's minimal risk of them not pulling that off. Okay, so obviously, right, Corey's optimistic about this. I don't blame him, right? If I'm not mistaken, he's the CEO of
head of
Swan,
PR,
right? Head of PR as well. But yeah, so look, they're just not having they're not having good luck. I don't know if you guys want to comment on this before we move on to the main part of the story.
They're a marketing company that aren't vertically integrated. Like we don't see these things happening with River, right? Because River are their own custodian. And like apparently, maybe you need less lawyers, fewer lawyers, if you're not vertically integrated. But last I checked, or last I heard, Swan had like double the number of employees as River. So maybe it's just like you need to employ, fewer marketers and, actually people that, do real jobs.
What we are seeing are the symptoms of essentially using too many third parties, right? Like this is what it is. Like this is not a good look. Not a good look.
Wait, isn't Bitcoin meant for use without third parties? Phil, weird that.
No, it's just stack. Just DCA. Okay, so you need to stack. Anyways, moving on. This is the big part of the story. I feel like not enough people are discussing this, or nobody cares. Walton, you provided the original link, and I went and dug up this article. That's right, guys. Barry Silbert, huh? It's always a big week for Barry. New York Attorney General triples estimate size of alleged fraud in case against DCG. It's a freaking curse when Barry says it's going to be a big week, which he didn't say that when this came out, but still, it's going to be a big week, Barry. The NYAG has now found that the companies defrauded more than 230,000 investors out of more than $3 billion, according to the new amended complaint. After months of false promises, we pulled the curtain back and revealed that DCG was lying to investors and defrauding them out of billions. Attorney General James said in a statement, the fraud and deceit were so expansive that many additional people have come forward to report similar harm. Okay.
So what happened with this was Gemini, the Winklevoss twins, they had a program called Gemini Earn, where it was a yield generating product for people that were leaving their corn and maybe other shit coins, I don't know, with Gemini. But what happened was Gemini were basically just giving that money to Genesis and DCG, who were then lending it to like 3 Arrows Capital, FTX. Like there was just, all of this shitcoinery and yield stuff is just incestuous money being thrown around. And because it's all, silly games being played, it doesn't end well. Yeah, it's
just, from the early days, DCG were always seen as the royalty of the space. They were the good guys. They were the people that you wanted investment from, and they had a bit of arrogance about them. And to see they're no different than all of us plebs is interesting. That's
they're worse. They're worse, Nick.
They're much worse.
Yeah, well, they had an arrogance about them. I met Barry. Yeah, he basically wanted to make out that they were the royalty of the space. They were they had an arrogance about them, but they're
Well, now he's being publicly shamed and he's had to kiss the ring. And it's like I've been saying, it's the changing of the guard. I also think, by the way, the tinfoil, my, typical tinfoil hat take, I think none of this is a coincidence. I think that what we're seeing with DCG, right? Like this is, again, I don't know how long DCG lasts. I don't know how long until they conveniently merge or somehow their assets have to be sold off. And I'm sure it's going to be a total surprise when it's like, companies.
Even their behavior with the ETF is a bit weird, keeping the fee at 1.5% when everyone's like at 0.2. And
well,
because this is what keeps Barry out of prison.
That's right.
So that,
I'm telling you,
the funds just gradually leak over to BlackRock, etc.
People think we're nuts, but that's what's happening. This is exactly what's happening. I'm telling you, it's such a fucking show, and people are sitting there and like, no, what are you talking about? Like he's had all that Bitcoin, and now he's just like, that's it. People want to sell out. This is totally organic. It's like, no, it's not. This is bullshit.
And of course, they were the company behind the New York Agreement. Let's never forget that.
Exactly. And so it's kind of poetic that then they're getting fucked in New York right now, eventually.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely poetic. Guys, that is going to wrap up REKT. And we are going to move it on over to the Hopium.
The Hopium. Up next, we have Hopium, sponsored by Represent. Represent are a Bitcoin-owned clothing and accessories brand based in the United States of America. If you go over to representltd.com, you can see their wide range of apparel and other goodies. Similar to this shirt that I'm wearing, but you can't buy this limited edition shirt, but you can buy things that are nearly as cool if you head over to representltd.com and use the code PlebUnderground to get yourselves a discount. Once again, that's representltd.com. Hopium this week, the price is indeed pumping, and so there's lots of people talking very excitedly about what's happening. I have a couple of posts to share. I feel like we share this guy more and more often, Phil. Mr. Rajat Soni CFA, who's some TradFi guy that is increasingly posting about Bitcoin and seemingly quite excited about it. He says most millionaires will never be able to buy one Bitcoin because they have all their money tied up in legacy assets. I think this is a good point, right? A lot of the like dollar millionaires around the world aren't liquid dollar millionaires, right? A lot of them have most of their money in things like real estate and other illiquid assets. Number two, he references here, they've sunk so much of their time and money into real estate and stocks, they feel like it's all a waste if they move it to another asset. Three, there are only 21 million Bitcoin, 3 to 5 million of which have been lost, and 12 of which probably will never be sold or be sold at much higher prices. Number four, they haven't figured out what it is yet, and when they do, it'll be too expensive and out of reach for them. To buy a whole coin, he means. Number five, their ego won't let them because they first heard about Bitcoin at much lower prices, so they can't imagine paying 10 to 100 times for nothing. I think lots of Bitcoiners know people in this group, irrespective of how rich they are. It was like, well, I don't want to get a worse deal than my buddy got, sort of thing. He says rich people FOMO isn't priced in yet. Most people haven't put in the hours of study required to understand how Bitcoin works. And then some numbers here, 21 million people can't own one Bitcoin, 42 million people couldn't own a half or can. Again, the numbers aren't quite right, whatever. There's not that much Bitcoin, and not everyone's going to be able to own as much as they want. 75% of the global population couldn't buy 1% of one BTC, so 75% of the world couldn't buy a million sats even if they wanted. I guess this is nothing new, but this is people in TradFi realizing this sort of thing. Well, what are your thoughts, gents?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys like him. The other one, Fred Krueger, they're just coming out with all this. Yeah, he's shilling L2s at the moment, which is annoying me. They're just like shit coins. I don't know. These price predictions, it feels a bit like Plan B again, stock to flow. And you're going to have, who's that guy in Florida who's going to start talking $1 million? He's going to say 100 grand by Christmas or something, and people get wrecked. I mean, look, I'm
Scamson Mao, maybe.
No,
in Florida. I don't think so.
I know, but Scamson said $1 million soon or something, didn't he?
Look, I'm not one of these Bitcoiners that say the price is not important. No, the price is very important. Bitcoin gets its security by the price. Yeah, when the price goes up, more people use Mercury Layer, and we get more interest. I mean, it is important, but we've got to be careful about some of these stupid Hopium stuff. Yeah, most
absolutely.
people don't really know about Bitcoin. I mean, I live in London. I go to the city to talk to bankers. They don't even know what Bitcoin is. Yeah, it hasn't reached them. They still think blockchain and stuff like that and CBDCs. So we got to be real. I mean, the majority of the world is not on Twitter listening to us all day. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah. Because when you see things like that, people are going to borrow money and do reckless stuff and buy Bitcoin on a hope that they get a crazy return. And that's a bit dangerous. But I think, look, we're in a good space. As I said earlier, people are building zero knowledge proof stuff on Bitcoin. 4 years ago, that would only be built on Ethereum because that's where the money was. So I think, we're on a good trajectory. All the crap projects seem to be scattering, don't know what to do. So I think the ecosystem's healthy at the moment. Hash rate's going up, and after the ETF dump, the price has held really well. It didn't dump as much as what people thought, and we're back at 48k, which is I didn't expect that. I thought we'd hang around 40 for a few.
I thought it would take longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a lot to be positive about. Yeah,
I just wanted to add that. For me, number 5 on that list was how I ended up as a shitcoiner. because I just, I started seeing Bitcoin and I think it was like the mid 200s or something like that, mid 300s. And I watched it, slowly creep all the way up to 20K, right? Sat through that bull market. That's when I was buying shitcoins. And no joke, the reason was that because I couldn't imagine paying, right, 10x or 100x, right? Obviously not 100x, but 10x what I originally saw it start at, or in my case 20x. And it's like, well, then you can just go get way more of this other thing that might do what Bitcoin did. Spoiler alert, it will not. So yeah, good post, Walton. Good post from
I feel like Nick immediately understood the concept of Hopium. It's basically, we show these posts of people who are bullish and we say, zoom out, hold your horses, calm down, bitches. We're just chill. No, the price is not going anywhere right now. Broken incentives, etc. And talking of broken incentives, I'm going to share a post from a friend of the show, but someone who I think is owned by Bitfinex, Mr. Adam Back. Short squeeze time, white dots are short liquidations, time frame from ETF start of trading today, outflows largely exhausted, large net sellers done for now. So Adam thinks the price is going to go up soon, but he also said on the day the ETFs were announced that it wasn't unfeasible, or he said it the day before, but on the day of the ETFs being not announced, sorry, that they started trading, Adam didn't think it was unreasonable for us to have an all-time high that day, though he did say it may well take longer. Now, a couple more charts. I have one here. Tour de Meester, who thinks we're close to a breakout. This is showing the price over the last few years. This being the 2021, and we're now in the same sort of ranges that we had during the kind of early and late bull market of 2021, 2022. Who knows what's going to happen next? And finally, a chart from my favorite TA analyst, Plan D, of course. That's Dieter Bob, and he says it's astounding how similar all three Bitcoin cycles have been. It's almost like clockwork. Time from ATH all-time high to market bottom to current day. His mind is blown. He thinks a new all-time high by December, and then moon through 2025. Peaking in Q4. I think the price is going to go up. Over what time frame, I'm not going to be saying. And I think anyone that does, I don't know. They don't know. Like anyone selling you a particular time frame, be very wary. Are we going to have a new all-time high in the next year or two? I think it's reasonable. But who knows?
I think we are. I mean, I don't ever tweet about the price, but I did tweet about saying that the price isn't the real price because no one ever factors inflation. If you go back inflation for 4 years, 60 grand isn't 60 grand. It's, I don't know, 60 minus, 18% or something.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point.
That's fair, and I have to say I don't usually tweet about the price, but I did today because I opened my phone and saw, the price is up by what percentage? 6.15%, and I thought I'm going to tweet this because it's kind of funny, and I think apparently now we're boomers for understanding this meme, but I don't know. It amused me. That was in the last 24 hours, in fairness. Yeah.
Just so you know, while we've been recording this episode, we broke 48K. So, so we literally just took out, I shouldn't say we took out, but we just went all the way up into the exact same range as when the ETF started trading. So
48K is the new 58K, apparently.
Yeah, right? But I don't know, maybe 48K is the new 10K. More Hopium. Anyways, all right. Walton, you have anything else for the Hopium?
No, that's it. Like
enough?
again, like I just
We're
think
all
it's,
excited.
to me, I don't know. Price pumping gets me nervous. I'm like, oh fuck,
Of
like
course.
I haven't stacked enough yet. I mean, maybe if you're like some OG and you're like, and you've been sitting around by your pool with your little dog, like it's different. But like, you know, if you're a normal person who's been working and stacking and, you know, you'd quite like to do a bit more of that. Like, yeah, I think the price going up should make you anxious. Each their own.
Yeah, exactly. Each their own. All right, Nick, thank you very much for joining us. And this wraps up this weekly episode of Pleb Underground. Nick, one more time, how do the viewers and listeners find you?
Yeah, CommerceBlock.com or Twitter, Gregory_Nico. And thanks for having us. Enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And we hope to have you on again. Guys, don't forget, like and subscribe. Help us grow the channel. Don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you want to stream us sats, check us out on fountain.fm. You can stream us sats through Breeze. Walton, you know the deal. How do we end this?
Fuckshitcoins.com. Please like and subscribe. We will see you next week.
More toxic than the most toxic Bitcoin maxi ever. They said he's more toxic than the most